differently in our bylaws. Same end game, but just
At that time, ink and paper were no option. Let's just keep going.
All right, welcome to the Wednesday, September 11th, 2024 Selectmen's Meeting. Please note that this meeting is being made available to the public through a live video and audio broadcast on Comcast Government Access Channel 9 and YouTube channel at Pembroke Meeting SLS, and is being recorded for broadcast at future dates. Comments made in open session will be recorded. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does anybody have any announcements to begin with?
Yes, I do. I just wanted everyone to know, I did put this on my Facebook page too, that the Pembroke Military Support Group is doing the event to honor Pembroke veterans. Flags for Heroes is happening this year to honor all veterans past and present with a field of flags for Veterans Day. It's a $10 contribution request to cover the cost for a flag, and it's cash or check only, and you can pick up forms here in Town Hall at the Veterans Office and also drop them off with your donation, or you can basically make sure you get a hold of the Military Support Group. They do have a Facebook page also.
And so the flags are going to go on the community center green?
Yeah, and then basically the deadline is October 25th to bring in, to basically request a flag for a veteran in Pembroke.
Thank you. Anybody have anything else? Okay, board action items, vote to accept the minutes of August 21st, 2020. Sorry?
Were you going to acknowledge today's September 11th?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yes, thank you. I feel like we should probably have a moment of silence. How many years have we at?
23.
23 years, and I feel like everybody remembers exactly where they were the very second that they realized that something was wrong. Heart-wrenching. They had a memorial this morning at the Pembroke Fire Department at 9:45. I was able to go. There was a few of us there. Unfortunately, some of the fire department had to get called out right before services actually took place, but they did a very nice job. They did a good job.
Well, that's good, because I know that Dan and I talked about that this past weekend when we were at the Eagle Scout event.
Yep.
And overall, it's just kind of crazy. And being in DC at the time too, it's like you have these weird experiences. You know, you were in Boston. You know, I'm not sure where else was, but yeah, you kind of figure out what's going on, and you have your mind wrapped around on what happens. You know, when these kind of disasters are like, okay, what's next? Oh my God! But you know, we've gotten through it. It's 23 years, and I said we'll get through 23 more.
Well, I'd like to have a moment of silence, please. Thank you, Dan. Board action items, vote to accept the minutes of August 21st, 2024.
So the minutes should probably be amended because they don't show Rich as present, but I believe Rich was present on August 21st, 2024 meeting.
Correct.
You can move to approve them with the amended version.
Yeah.
I would move to accept the minutes of August 21st, 2024 amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Vote to accept the resignation of Teresa Harling from Conservation Commission. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to accept the resignation of Teresa Harling from Conservation Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have consider a vote to appoint Ryan McDonald, 24 Penny Lane, to ZBA alternate vacancy.
I'll make a motion to appoint Ryan McDonald to the ZBA alternate vacancy, term to expire 2027.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Consider a vote to appoint Judith Park, 69 Brick Hill Lane, to Historic District Commission.
I would move to appoint Judith Parks to the Historic District Commission vacancy, term to expire 2027.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion and possible vote for the Select Board 2024 values and discussion and possible vote of the Select Board 2024 goals and priorities. Take these together. Steve, I'm going to let you go over these if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So I'll start with the 2024 values. They've pretty much remained the same except for one item. The governance section had a little bit of an item in there about communication. We peeled that out and created its own separate item for it. I feel like it is something that should be highlighted on its own as one of our 2024 values for the Select Board, for the Select Board office, and our town government in general. I feel like we could really improve on communication, and I feel like it's important to highlight that.
And do you think maybe we should read these out? Not everybody necessarily heard them before, maybe we just read the values?
Yeah, that's fair. I can do that. I can read all the values, go down quickly, and then in terms of the goals and priorities, I can just go over the new items that we discussed in our working group.
Yep.
Okay. So for 2024 values, the statement is the Pembroke Select Board shall annually affirm a guiding constellation of values to establish the spirit and duty in which it operates and aligns with the town's needs and wants. These values shall be further reflected in the culture of every facet of our town government and its employees. And those values are governance, promote accessible, responsive, and effective governance. Communication, foster open dialogue and transparent information sharing. Public health and safety, protect the health and safety of our town and its visitors. Financial security, ensure fiscal responsibility, financial stability, and long-term planning. Infrastructure, commit to maintaining and enhancing town infrastructure. Natural resources, preserve and leverage our open spaces, trails, and waters. Community engagement, seek ways to enhance engagement with the community. Historic and cultural heritage, meaningfully preserve and leverage our rich history. Modernization, enhance processes and technology where it makes productive sense to do so. And finally, continuous improvement, always seek opportunities to identify, streamline, and eliminate unnecessary waste in our processes, practices, and spending. So that is the list of the proposed 2024 values. Should I go right to goals and priorities and then have discussion afterwards, or do you want to do discussion?
Do we want to take a vote on values first and then move on? Does anybody have any questions, comments, or anything about changes, edits, suggestions, anything? If not, I would like to make a motion to accept these, if someone would like to make.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Moving on to goals and priorities. So goals and priorities, they still have those remaining 2023 goals and priorities that we also already went over, which ones that we canceled, considered completed, or were in process or pending. So I'll just go over those new items in addition to those items that we kept on the list. So under economic development and financial stability, we have a new item, revisit town bylaw, Article 20, Section 14C, also known as prohibition of marijuana retailers. So this is something that came out of our working group that it seemed unnecessary to keep that there. It seemed like things have shifted a bit. There's been some more discussion about it, but that was one item that we added. Should we go through the whole list, and then at the end, if people have comments?
I would prefer we go through everything
Okay.
first and then come
All right.
back.
Okay, I'm just going to go right through the list then without comment this time. Next one is work under also economic development and financial stability. Work with town manager and planning board on remaining supplemental additions to the master plan. Moving down to communication and town engagement, there were 4 new items that we added. One was update volunteer application. Another one was update the appointed committee's policies and procedures handbook. Next one was implement certificate of recognition program for town volunteers. And final addition was update and enhance accessibility and information on town clerk section of town website. Moving down to effectiveness and efficiency in town government, there were 2 new goals added. And those were unify management of all town beaches under recreation. And an additional item was update the appointed board evaluation process. Okay. Moving down to stewardship of our natural resources, there are 2 new items, one of which is, coordinate with Recreation Director on plans to better maintain and enhance town beaches. And additional new item is revisit and move forward on plans for the Laggy Preserve. Those are the 2 items for that one. And under general infrastructure, maintenance, and improvement, there were 5 new items. And those were evaluate plans for all town-owned properties. Next is repair or replace the town hall sign. Out in front here, I see Bill smiling. I think we're all kind of smiling a little bit at that one. Next is upgrade the back entrance town hall kiosk. Next is work with the school committee to determine plans for the Hatch building. And finally, work with the veterans agent on possible implementation of the Hometown Heroes program. So that is a total of 15 new items. They were from the last meeting where we talked about this, we went through the list. There were, I think it was 16 items that were either mostly completed. I think there was like 1 or 2 that were canceled, that were determined to be canceled. And the rest are either in process or still pending. And I think our view, as we kind of discussed it, was that the idea of the goals and priorities are, hey, these are things we would really like and push to see completed within the next year before we revisit them. But for those things, for whatever reason, you know, we have to manage our priorities and our resources. If we don't complete it, we roll it over and we revisit whether it's something that we cancel or continue. So those are the new items that we're proposing.
Does anybody have any input on this?
I do.
Please share.
I just want to talk about the marijuana retailers article. So this board has the ability, the capability of putting this on the town warrant for a town meeting, annual or special. But the citizens of Pembroke voted against this 3 different times. And 3 separate votes, ballot elections, town meetings. So the citizenry did not want this in our town. And that was 7, 8 years ago. So if you think there's been a change of heart in town, I would suggest that if you did want to move forward on this, begin the discussion with public hearings first to see if there is support there or if there's still a majority of the people that are against it. You know, on the face of it, we'd love to get the taxes for it, but there are certain people that feel that it's a detriment to society, and it's not, you know, a couple of pennies is not worth it to that detriment to society. Was the feeling back then. Has that changed? That's something we need to find out before we just put it on a town meeting warrant.
Right, that's good advice.
I think that makes sense. I mean, it's something that can be an agenda item over the course of maybe a few meetings or something and get people's input, reach out to the public on it, and then either put it on a town warrant or not, depending on what the feedback looks like.
Yeah, so the timeline would be if you were looking at the spring, because it needs ballot election as well. So spring town meeting versus a fall town meeting is the appropriate place for it. So if you're going to do it in the spring, the warrant's open in, early February? So there's your timeline, if you want to have public hearings on it. I mean, you can have public hearings concurrent with the warrant being open too. So the timeline is a little broad, but if that's what you believe you want to move forward on, right after Christmas, right after the New Year is the time to have these hearings.
And I would still like to leave it on here because it's worded as revisit, and maybe that pans out to not be something that happens, but.
Yeah, hey, having a public forum on it is always a good idea, to find out what the public wants. It has been a long time. It's, every town around us has 1 or 2 or multiple, you know. Rockland has, 3 probably?
So 3 times, really. The last vote was 2017, so two other times before that?
Yeah, so there were 2 town meeting votes and a ballot.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Against it.
All right,
You know?
thank you.
And we can debate here on the select board about it, and then go to public forum, and and maybe put on the warrant, or not, and then it
Right.
comes off the thing, yeah. That's exactly my thought.
Did you have anything else?
I do have one thing that is not new, it's left over. Consider partnering with the Wildlands Trust. Is that just put on there because, have you had discussions with Wildlands Trust is my question?
I have,
You have?
yes.
What would be the nature of?
So they started a new
partnership?
program, so that was, I actually still need to investigate it a little bit more. They started a new program where they actually do trail maintenance, and so that was what I wanted to dig into a little bit and see if it was something that would be a benefit to us and how that would affect us financially.
Yeah, it's going to cost money because
It
Wildlands
is.
Trust is not free. I'll give you an example. When I sat on the planning board, there was a subdivision being put in that was going to have a lot of leftover open space along the North River, literally frontage on the North River. And that person did not want to give it to the town for various reasons. So he wanted to take it off of his tax rolls. So he wanted to put it into a charity, and he partnered with the Wildlands Trust, and I remember him complaining that Wildlands Trust gladly took this free land from him as long as he paid them $100,000.
Right.
So it's, I just want to make sure that people know if you're partnering with Wildlands Trust, open up your pocketbook.
Right, as expected, but I think that we need to investigate something to maintain our trails. We have all this open space and we have all these trails, and we don't really have any plan for them besides hoping volunteers will jump in and take them. So it was just, I think that it's worth investigating. It might not be an astronomical amount, it might be something that we can pull from the Open Space Trust Fund or something.
Sure.
but-
Well, even if the DPW does it, I mean, you're paying someone an hourly wage to
Yep.
do it, so, to do a
but
cost-benefit
do we have manpower
analysis.
for that is,
Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah, it's-
more
it-
investigating to be had.
It's fine, do a cost-benefit analysis of it. I was just curious if someone actually had a conversation with them already.
Yeah, I talk to them quite often, but that was next to my list for that.
And I don't mean to disparage them by saying it's going
No,
to
no.
cost money, it's just.
It does cost money.
I'm just
It does
bringing
cost
out the
money.
truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be looked at realistically, and maybe it ends up not being something that we do, but considering exploring it as an option, and then either we go forward, it's completed, or we don't, and it's canceled, and there you go.
Yeah, continue the talks, please.
Thank you. Anything else? John, did you have anything?
Yeah, I got a couple things. The update volunteer application up there, appointed committees and policy procedures, that's in progress, is that correct,
We
Sabrina?
actually, Sabrina and I worked on that, and I would say that, what?
And not pending, I should be in progress, right?
It is.
Oh, it's
That's
pen-
what I thought.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, we wrote this before it was finished.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. See, no
We
pending.
like to check things off.
Oh, exactly.
But we wrote this before
This is-
we had finished that, so we did already work on that.
List unachievable. They're all good points, and we didn't start until we verbally raised them. So,
Nope, you did a great job, too. Looks beautiful. It's nice and cleaned up. And then Sabrina's been working on the appointed committees handbook,
Yeah,
too. Yep, no, she did a great
exactly.
job on that.
And that's been an ongoing process for several years too, so
Be nice to get that one.
We
Well,
just hammered-
everyone gets one, the committee gets one, and everything's online, so that's the perfect thing, so you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing with your committee or commission.
Well, it was due
which
for
is
some
awesome.
updates, and so we hammered that
Bill really
out.
wants to schedule a time when he can present all of this
Mm-hmm.
to you, so you can see it, and you may still want to research it.
Right,
But yeah, I think so far, it's going well.
it is going very well.
And the other one that is in progress right now, because since it just passed, since I'm liaison to the veterans, we are working with the veterans agent and the possible implementation of the HEROES Act.
So yes, the Hometown Heroes?
Yes.
Yes, so I've been talking with them as well about that, because of somebody in the American Legion who was kind of eyeballing it a little bit.
Yeah, and basically, we saw a lot of folks that we spoke about, and there's actually a lot of the Legion members that we have in 143, unfortunately not eligible for the...
Not eligible for what?
For the HEROES Act.
Are you talking about the banner program?
No, not the
Then what are
banner
you
program.
talking about?
This is, the HEROES Act is totally different. The banner program is from Paul. I got that one because
Oh,
how much
right.
that's gonna cost, and the polls, and that's just gonna be
Where
This
are you-
says hometown hero.
Hometown's Heroes,
Oh, I
yeah.
think we're talking about two different things.
Yeah.
Hometown Heroes is the banner program.
No, this, I thought basically the HEROES Act that just got signed in.
Is that on here?
Well, that's what it sounded like.
Oh, okay. I think
So
we're
I think
talking
there's
about two
some
different
confusion,
things.
there's two different things that
Yeah.
we're talking
Okay.
about, yeah.
That's just the banner program that we were talking about. And the same thing, somebody at the American Legion was helping to work with that.
Yeah, Paul, and then plus the
Yes.
son, since I'm commander, I do too many things right now. That basically trying to help out with that too and see basically what the cost is going to be for
Yeah.
per banner and what kind of poles we have, how the town can help us out hang them. It's gonna be intense, not gonna lie. And I've told Paul that too.
I'm supposed to touch base with him about that, actually. He emailed me yesterday, and I did talk to a little bit with David Phillips about it.
Yeah, because there's
I think
like,
it'll be fabulous.
but he's got like over 200 veterans either alive or, you know,
And you kind of
deceased.
decide how you want to do it, and you do it, and I guess we're getting into too much detail. but
Exactly, but
We'll move on. Did you have anything else?
no, I do not, I'm good.
I think there's one other thing I'll say about that. I think that's, some of it's funded by some grant opportunity too,
It's like
correct?
partial, yeah.
Partially grant funded, I think, so just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. Rich, did you have anything?
Yeah, I love the list. I could talk all night about it, but I'm just gonna narrow down to two things here. The Laggy Preserve revisit moving forward on that, that's currently being held up by Conservation, correct?
Yes, I have a meeting with them, not with them, but with members that are holding it up next week, so we'll have an update coming.
And the issue is that we did a site plan with an engineering company that is commonly used in this town.
Yes.
And they are, and this is the town-owned property, and this is a passive parking area with trails. They want a peer review, which is a different engineering town, and they use both of them, so it's very redundant, it's not cost-effective, and it's wasting time. And
Yes.
and that's what's getting held up here, and I want to point that out. It's really obnoxious, to be honest with you.
Let's hope we have a result. I am doing everything I can to get forward outside of a formal meeting. I've already went to a formal meeting and asked for a waiver once. I will be going back and asking for a waiver again.
And we use Merrill.
Yes, we do.
This is Merrill, right? And they use Merrill for peer review.
They do.
So if they don't trust them for peer review, why would they trust the town to hire them in the first place? Okay, I'll move
And
on.
the whole reason, I shouldn't go there, but I will. The whole reason you do peer review is because it's a developer and a development and there's conservation, and you want to make sure that the developer, who doesn't necessarily have the best interest of the town, is doing things that are in the best interest of the town. When we move forward with a project, we have the best interest in the town. It is in the town's best interest to do what we're doing, put some parking in there, do minor improvements, do some trail improvements. We have no, peer reviewing when we have the town's best interest in mind. I don't know. I
And if
asked
they
for a
have
waiver.
questions, they can ask Merrill.
So
They did the survey. They can just reach out to Merrill and say, hey, we've got some questions and concerns.
Let's see what
That would be a
happens.
lot cheaper than hiring another engineering firm.
So let's see what happens. We have a new member on conservation, the member who wanted the peer review and pushed hard for it. I'm meeting with next week, so we'll see.
The other thing is, replace the town hall sign. In the past, there's been some friction between historical and the town. I think that water's gone. I think Scott and I talked about it.
Certainly the member that I spoke to that said absolutely over their dead body.
I think we
is
have.
no longer a member.
I think we have some new blood. We have talked about it. I know, I won't really want to speak for you, Scott, but Scott said he would like to see
Just-
something very,
Just to share what
Appropriate and-
I had wanted to do was very similar to what you see at the community center, almost identical to that.
it's long overdue as well.
It
Long
is.
overdue. I remember when I moved here, one of the first things when I was coming through the town, like exploring the town, I was like, oh, what's up with that sign?
I was
And like,
new
I
to the
get it,
town
there's some
and it was-
historic, there's some history behind it, but
I was going to say,
we
the
should,
beautiful sign made by Richard Swift,
Let's
which has
mark that
been
up.
struck by lightning and had other issues.
right, and that's what I mean, it's like, it's crumbling, and we should really
When I had
give
that
opportunities to
discussion-
represent ourselves really well.
Yeah, when I had that discussion, I was new to the town, and it was not something I was gonna follow my sword for at that point. But I think we are ready to move forward with a new sign.
So once you get into that actual process of getting a new sign, just be cognizant of the police station moving out.
Right.
If we spend a lot of money on a brand-new sign that says town hall and police,
we
and then
won't.
the police move, 8 months later,
Yeah, we won't.
Well, don't forget, we had problems with that sign too. We wanted to illuminate the police sign, and unfortunately, we weren't able to because of historic. Because it broke in half, and we had to put it back up the way it was.
I think it's a good time to revisit it.
Kill the power.
Yeah.
Power's right there.
Well, that's why it's on the list.
Very good.
I think we,
Anything else, Rich?
I don't think there is opposition to that at this point. So we will be revisiting that.
Bill, did you have any comments, input or anything?
No, I think it's good. I will note that many of these are in progress, and probably 4 of them are already complete. Or very complete in the sense that they're ready to present to you so that you can make final tweaks.
Well, it'd be nice to check them off then.
And
Yes.
that's build some momentum, get a few things that have needed to get done for a while that kind of nicely cleaned up.
I have one last, maybe it's a comment. The select board and the school committee meet with a budget subcommittee in the fall, working toward town meeting. Is that something that should be on this, or kept separate and apart? Because we're getting close to that time to start meeting.
You can certainly put it there. I have a slightly different vision as a result of some lessons learned from last year, in that I've asked and are setting this up to meet with the superintendent and the 2 chairs. If we want to do the committee, that's fine. I'm completely, comfortable with that. But I think meeting with the superintendent, myself, and the 2 chairs, just to kind of, as soon as I'm ready to roll out some of them, and I'm working hard to get there, roll out some of the numbers. We are today's the 11th, we are just now closing the books for fiscal '24. So we know approximately where the free cash, you never know until the DOR goes through their little pieces of it and pulls it apart. But very pleased with the write-up we got from Standard & Poor's for the upcoming numbers. We'll be sharing those next week. We're still waiting for the finalization of all of that, but I think you will be incredibly pleased with all of that. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think just about that, the school committee, budget subcommittee, et cetera, if you guys can be productive doing that, then the less hands in the pot, the better. Why complicate it with more people? That's my view of it overall, just throwing that out there, but I think that's excellent if you guys are working productively together.
I think the 4 of us can dig through some of the numbers a little more efficiently than a little bit larger committee. If we want to do the larger committee, we're happy. I think I could work with, the superintendent and present to the committee.
Have you had any feedback from school committee or not yet?
I reached out. I think they're okay. We're just trying to find and I reached out to you too, trying to find a good meeting time. And so it's a little,
Right.
with the schools just opening, it's a little challenging, so.
Okay. Anything else? Do we want to make a motion to accept the 2024 goals and priorities?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, town manager's report, Bill.
So I'm going to start out with an update on the public safety building. I'll say the committee, but it was mostly the hired consultants that presented to both the Historic District Commission and the Planning Board. I would say that both of those meetings went well. The intent was not to get their formal approval at either one of these meetings, but we will be looking for their formal approval in the coming month or two. We got some good feedback from them, and I think the plan is moving forward. We're continuing with the design development phase, encouraged about the findings from when we finally dug and did all of the septic, what's the term I'm looking for here? Perk test, thank you, John. Perk tests in the locations. We consulted with Board of Health with Lisa, and I am encouraged to tell you that we are not going to have a huge mound system, that the perks are much better than we had anticipated, much better than what we had planned for. In fact, the septic systems are going to be under the driveway. So that big mound that you actually still see in some of these photos that are shared with you this evening is gone. It's not going to be there in front of the building.
So you said we won't have a big mound, we'll
Correct.
have a mound.
So because of the terrain and the way
Apart
it
from
drops,
the grading of the whole site.
not a mound.
Not a mound, there's not gonna be a mound anywhere. Good, it's gonna be under the driveway.
The grading will be such
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Okay.
The septic and all of that will be under the driveway. So super encouraged about that for a couple of reasons. You don't have a mound in front of your building and you don't have that huge cost to produce them.
Retaining wall is staying?
Retaining wall has to stay because of the way the terrain is in the back. So, moving the Turner House to that location, the retaining wall is behind that, and then behind the main building, where the parking is, you need a retaining wall there too. But it's not as big a retaining wall and not as high a retaining wall because you don't have the mound that you're trying to retain all of that structure, all of the structure. It's underground structure, but it's still structure.
Is still gonna be a pump system?
Yes, it really has to be because of where it is. I mean, you got that building that's huge with facilities in the way back of the building that needs to pump to the front end of the driveway, so yes.
Is perk testing done at a certain time of year ideally?
It can be done at any time of year, but it's just really challenging if you do it in the wet part of the year or in the.
It's better in August than April.
Yes, exactly. So, any questions on public safety?
Yes, actually. So thank you for the information about the mound. Have we meaningfully looked into how we can go about rotating the public safety building so we're not looking at the back of the building or the side of the building?
So-
I just have to say, speaking for myself and a lot of people that I hear from, I think understandably, a lot of people don't want to spend $60 million in a building and then see the back of the building or the side of the building when they're driving by. So I'm very curious to understand why that can't be done and what it would take to make it so we're not looking at the back and the side of the building.
So we've had some discussions both early on and we recently with some folks, both ID and the consultants. The challenge when you turn that building at all is going to be that you're going to recreate that situation where you have larger retaining walls in the back. You have structure, you're not going to, it's going to change because of your setbacks and because of the constraints that are on the site, and it's going to add substantial cost to the project.
So it becomes a budgetary constraint.
We're not talking 100,000, we're talking millions.
We can do some screening, right?
For
Some natural screening for that?
Well, there is already natural screening in it, but you can't, because the front to back measurements are greater, you have to, if you rotate it, you have to look at a third story, which we've talked about and certainly had discussions about a third story. And we've really, to give you an idea where we've been in the last year on this thing, we even talked about looking at other locations, other sites. We looked at the other site on 53 that the town owns that the school had given us. We looked at some of the sites around the middle school. We looked at sites back here and around the town
What was the
complex.
site on 53 you looked at?
It's the
chip?
property, no, the property the schools gave us.
660 was.
Yeah, 660, yeah, that's it. What other site did we look at? Do you remember?
Ball field.
Oh, yeah, the Lagoon Field. None of those for a myriad of reasons. Some were deed restricted and couldn't be done, some it wouldn't fit. There was a whole bunch of reasons. Some were cost, you move, if you go from the current site to the 660 Washington, you're creating the same situation because of the wetlands in the back and the size of that structure. So you're still adding that extra cost, and you have to do it there, you have to replicate wetlands. So the determination was made that the most cost-effective approach was to go where we went with that.
Even with the raising of the grade, even considering that it is still the most cost-effective
Yes.
site. And my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that also the response time, having the public safety building there and the substation there, none of these other sites would have been quite as good as this kind of coverage.
So they're not as good for townwide coverage. Moving this facility to the south or southeastern part of the town really destroys your response time. You put your substation on this site or in the northern part of town. The only site that had overall better response time was Magoon Field, but it doesn't fit.
And the whole reason for all of that right there is because of all the activity that's in northern Pembroke.
Correct.
And that's really driving this site being the best
Over
spot for
70%
response
of our
time.
calls go north.
Right, and especially during the day, and then evening time, it's more the Bryanville area, and that's why the substation on School Street was proposed the way it was.
It's almost, the two locations we have today are almost as best you're gonna get without purchasing a bunch of land and tearing down other facilities.
So in terms of site constraints, even with the site constraints that we are, to the extent we are dealing with them here, this is still the best site versus other site constraints at other sites that we have visited multiple times over the
Correct.
course of this process, and recently as well, it was revisited.
Well, also with other committees before this, because we didn't try to reinvent the wheel. It was other committees beforehand who've actually tried, stuff around the center of town also for a public safety, well, mostly a police.
Which was rejected, that was.
It was, but there was good information for us to deal with the committee and with the working group.
Yeah, and I tasked our consultants, our owner's project manager, the Vertex group, to look at all of these sites for us to make sure that our assumptions were accurate. And absolutely, they came back with the same exact comments.
So,
And actually, some more comments, so some other things that they found that we hadn't previously known.
so high-level question in consideration of all that is, to what extent, with the constraints that we're dealing with this project right now, would you say they are primarily site-driven or budgetary-driven?
I think the answer is both. I think the site clearly is
Drives the cost higher. and
drives
should
your
get
costs, so
everything
then
done, yes.
then it makes it a financial impact. If you want to spend, $100 million, you can do anything anywhere. We don't want to do that. We want to build the building that we need, that plans for our future as efficient and cost-effective as we possibly can.
Okay. And my final question that I have is a little bit academic, but it's an important question, I think. I refuse to call it the Turner House, by the way. I call it the old house on the Turner property. But does the situation with the old house on the Turner property create meaningful constraints on the design or configuration options for the project?
Well, yes,
If it didn't exist, how many more options would you have to configure the site?
well, the Turner House, if it weren't there, we wouldn't have to consider moving it. We wouldn't have to consider any of the future plans, the underground conduits that we have to put in, the water lines, even though we're not connecting the building, we still have to put them in, because you're not going to do it in the future and tear up all of that. You would have a little more flexibility on the building, the positioning of the building, not a lot there, but a little bit, because you'd be able to move the building that is the storage building in the back to where the Turner is now. You might be able to actually move the septic. We didn't do perks where we're putting the Turner House because there's going to be a house there. So we don't know that answer, but you could potentially move the septic a little bit further back on the site. So there's some site constraints related to the Turner House. I don't know that there's a huge savings based on the
But the
current
budget
plan.
allocated towards that would otherwise go to the project at
Absolutely.
millions some odd dollars.
Sure.
That's allocated to that part of the project.
That includes septic system, foundation.
So there is
moving it.
no septic for the Turner House. We're only putting in basic water lines, basic conduits. We don't have to tear everything up. We didn't promise them septic. We've worked with the Board of Health to make sure that a tight tank is available, is a viable option in the future. But we're not putting that in as part of this project. It was never discussed as part of what we were going to be doing. We were simply going to move, put a new foundation, and do some cleanup on the exterior. And that's all we were doing. That's all we're planning to do.
And that's all the town voted on for that during the discussion for this building, so.
Unfortunately, in the future, I see additional costs
Oh,
associated with this property,
if you
putting
use
other
system?
things in,
Electrical,
maintenance.
elevator, if you want to use the second floor, ADA requirements for ramps.
I don't disagree with any of you, and any of that. It's all going to be additional costs if we ever determine we're going to use that building. And
Okay.
we don't know what those costs are today. We're not going to spend the time to study that unless someone...
Is there lead paint in there as well?
Is there lead paint? It's all been mitigated.
Yeah, it sounds like the only thing remaining that's really the issue with this site to me, as far as I'm concerned, the site or the project rather, is the orientation of the building. So obviously, whereas we can't turn it 90 degrees, 60 degrees, anything?
We're still taking a look at that. I don't think, based on recent discussions, that that's going to be possible. The irony is, I was driving, because I had some time between end of work yesterday and a meeting, and drive by the Norwell facility. It's a beautiful facility, but it has the same constraint with the same fire trucks coming out the side of the building, and it says Norwell Fire. It looks, other than the brick, it looks very similar to what we're doing here.
Yeah, and then basically, as long as the aesthetics are okay with the Historic District Commission and the functionality works out well and the programming stays where we can grow over the next 20 years, you know, this is where we have to go with. Just because it's turned and it looks okay, you know, it's more functionality to make sure that our public's safe compared to, oh, we got to turn it this way so people can see the front door. So that's where I'm going with it.
One final question, and I don't expect you to have the answer now, but I think the many people who are upset about the aesthetic, the orientation of the building, and again, I think rightfully so, considering what we're spending. I'd be very curious what the cost would be in terms of making the project work to the extent that that could be oriented correctly. I'm not saying that it would be justified, but I am curious what the cost of that would be.
Yeah, I think, I don't quote me, but I'll get you
6
the
to 9
exact.
million?
I think it's, yeah, exactly. I
What
think
did you
it's
say?
It was between six to nine million if we basically did it that way.
6 to 9 million to accommodate everything else in order to
Correct.
get it there. And a lot of that would be to grading, because what is it, you end up with a third
You're-
floor, then you need
Some better
higher steel
grading.
buildings, so you need,
You're now bringing that grade further back. The retaining wall is much higher than what we're doing today. And you've got another floor of structure for both elevators, mechanical, and all of that.
I see. And then that's what demands the higher costs on top of the grading and.
Yeah, we looked at the third floor option, and with the mechanicals and everything like that, it got too much, where we felt we would have to cut something somewhere, and it worked out well that the police and fire chief worked together with their people to make sure, like I said, it's a viable option for us this coming forward right now.
I know.
Norwell's on a corner?
So if you drive by the Norwell Fire Station, you're going to see that the one side is the police, which you can see from the front, but the fire department is tucked around. They come out the same, their functioning is probably worse, because we have 53 that's going by. If you look from 53 at our facility, you're actually going to see the front of our building. Where in Norwell, when you're driving by the fire station, they're tucked behind. So,
On 53, you'll still be able to see the front of the building.
yeah, if you're in the gas
Yeah, so
station,
you'll
you're
see
going to look
right
right
there.
at it.
Going south, you'll be able to see it.
On your approach
Yep.
to
Yeah.
the light, you're
Yep.
looking at it.
That's 6 to 9 million that you're thinking that it would be. That includes just what it would take to reorient the building, the additional for everything, so on and so
So-
on. Does that also include the original thoughts around grading, regrading, bringing in additional material to raise the grade?
Yeah, so
Yes.
what you have to do is the building has to come back, you're going up, which pushes your retaining walls back further. Because of the terrain drop, you're bringing more fill in, you're bringing
I see.
higher retaining wall. 'cause
The
your
grading
building's-
drops off
your
at
building's
that
further back.
location.
Mhm.
I see. And that grading consideration is not thinking about due to the previous perk test where we thought that the grading would have to be raised 6 feet. That's the current expectation.
Correct.
Where the grade would have to be raised.
That was
Less.
in spite of the septic piece.
Yeah. And the grading right now, I believe, is supposed to be less, correct, that we went through?
It is less than what we had planned for
Yes.
with the septic, yes.
Okay.
One of the constraints of the orientation is also the turning radiuses of the apparatus.
Yes.
Yes.
So just to turn it so people can look at the garage doors on 53, I'd rather have the truck be able to drive in and out.
Okay.
Where are the AC units located?
The
Air conditioning.
air conditioning
Yeah.
units? So it's going to be a predominantly an electric system, and they're going to be rooftop mounted.
Is there a way around that?
There's just no space. I'd love to do something different. We actually talked about that recently because we just went over all of that. It is challenging. There's just no space to put them anywhere.
It's usually problematic within 10 years.
Yeah. I get it. I mean, all of our buildings are that way. The community center, the library, this building isn't, it's out there, but. What's that? Schools are all rooftop,
Gonna mandate walking pads,
so.
they're essential.
Oh, yes, oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that's an absolute, so.
And are we stuck on the concrete siding? Is there a way to bump off that?
So, part of that is related to, you know, the visual appearance of it. We have to do something that's going to be approved by HTC.
They approved the brick, can we do another stonework there?
Then it becomes a cost issue.
My experience with that is that it's not, it all comes down to caulking and warranty, and they changed their warranty. And I don't even know if they would warranty it in a municipal building.
Well, certainly they're gonna have to warranty it, or we're not gonna use the product. We're gonna spec a warranty in our bid docs, so they're not gonna have a choice there. I mean, we can have that discussion.
They're 10-foot lengths, so you see seam, 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 seam. I think it's quite ugly.
The other option would be wood.
No, I mean, you could break it up into 10-foot lengths and then PVC and then a 10-foot length instead of seeing these seams. I think it's unsightly personally, especially on a larger area. So if you had 10, because they only come in 10-foot lengths.
So this is the first we've had that discussion. I have not had that discussion with the architects. I can certainly ask that question. It's,
I can send you some alternatives. And see
send them over.
what's- okay.
As soon as you can, Rich, send them to me so I have them, and I can get them to them. I don't want to delay the process, and as long as we have a clean look, I'm not opposed to it, you know, so.
Okay.
Anything else?
Oh, paving Center Street, I know some folks are frustrated about that. There's been some changes. Trust me, we've heard it from Monday, we've heard it again Tuesday, we heard it again today. Bear with us, I actually went with the highway foreman today and took a look at the work that they're doing. It is really, really good, and that new pavement with the emulsion mix is really working out well for us. There were a couple of areas that I wasn't pleased with, but they're really, really, really minor. Generally speaking, very pleased with the process. You know, you don't have any mid seams in the pavement. The sections that they've done, the seams that they have done are absolutely clean. You're not getting any bumps or anything as you drive over them. A couple of the catch basins should have been raised a little more. However, I'd rather have, as the highway foreman said when we were looking at them today, I'd rather have a 1/4 inch low than 1/2 inch high, because you're going to knock them out when you drive over them with a plow in the wintertime if they're high. So really pleased with the process. I know it isn't perfect and that it's taken a little more, and that the scheduling wasn't perfect, and the communication from Mass DOT and the contractor to the town wasn't ideal. They notified the police because they had changes in details, but they didn't, that information didn't flow to us. We have corrected that, and should be, if there are any changes, we should be getting those changes now. We definitely expressed our frustration over the last 3 days about that. So I want to thank everyone for bearing with us on that, but it should be done this week. And then they'll finish up the sidewalks and finish up the curbing work and the rest of the work that is there. All of the wires have now been moved. So generally, I'm very pleased at this point as to where we are with that project.
A question about Mountain Ave? Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, no, please, go ahead.
I know that they were cutting couple of different holes into it. Now you've got large, we just paved that, we got large holes now. They're gonna have to come back, right? And they're gonna have to do that.
We have a 5-year moratorium on our paving projects, and they're responsible to
They
make it
acknowledge
right.
that? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's without question.
I know they did a small hole and it
It's
wasn't a big deal, but now you get two big
One of
steel
my
plates
biggest
there.
frustrations with utility companies is when you pave and they come back, we really put some teeth into that with financial penalties, so that if they don't do it, we will. So they have been very good. We're going to be doing West Down, we're going to be doing Oldham to Pine Tree, going to be doing Forest. I forgot one. High Street. So you're just gonna start to see that this month. Actually, Summer Forest, I think, is the first on the list just because it works out for the contractor. They're gonna start grinding that next week. So
And when's this done again?
West Elm's right after, they're just gonna flow from one right to the other. They're gonna grind and then they're gonna pave. The grinding crew will grind them, paving crew will come in and pave them. So we're looking at probably less than a month.
It's
to have
been
them.
brutal. DPW really does acknowledge that, and they thank everybody for their patience, but needed, and it will be beautiful.
Can we say something about, there's been some allegations of folks driving down Center Street and being unable to get to their roads. I haven't experienced that. I followed the detours. I had no issue with it, but there had been a couple folks that had some experiences that were not
So
pleasant.
if they can't get to their road or get to their house, they should talk to the detail officer. And if that doesn't work out, please have them call the police chief or myself so that we can address it.
Okay.
I had not heard that. I know there's been some detours that has frustrated people, and I know some of the timing with the work has frustrated people because it was an hour earlier than what they had originally said.
So going forward, where you have the correct timings that are going to be posted now.
We certainly hope so, and if not, they're going to get another phone call.
Unless we come in
because-
tomorrow and it's delayed again,
Yeah, we will, we're just gonna lose
7
it.
PM to 6 AM.
So did they technically start early, or was there miscommunication?
So they set up, they came in, they got ready, and legitimately, they only started about 15 to 20 minutes early, but they were there on site with prep and everything else, so. And one of the challenges, not that I'm defending them because I'm not, they should have planned this better, 100% should have planned this better, but one of the challenges is once you pick up that asphalt from the plant, you gotta lay it down, you can't let it sit in a truck, especially if they don't have a hot box that's keeping it warm. So, I appreciate that, they still made a huge mistake and they still should have communicated that to the town.
Okay. Yeah, no, in terms of the roads, like what you just mentioned about West Elm and Oldham, et cetera, it sounds like we're pretty on track with our capital improvement plan with the roads that were in order to be addressed at the time. So we're going to be in 2024 and still doing these roads will be on track. So it's good. All right. Thank you.
Anything else?
Just a couple of comments, infrastructure forum tomorrow evening, 6 PM at the community center. I will be there. Certainly, I'm going to emphasize and talk about roads and put some detail around how we calculate what's going on. I'm going to also introduce a new system we have for roadway maintenance and management. It is awesome. It's going to be a huge cost saver to the town. We are one of the first communities in Massachusetts to actually do it.
What's this called?
It's a German company that has introduced into the U.S. called Biolytics. And they use AI technology with a smartphone. And you put the smartphone in the truck and you drive your town, and the AI technology finds all of your roadway conditions that we used to have to pay $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. We were paying $17,000 a year for this product.
Nice.
And also, we were going to have to pay an extra almost $20,000 for a street sign inventory. It also identifies the lat long and location and the condition of all your street signs. We did training last week with it. Super excited. We were able to, even if
Don't worry about that.
even if like a stop sign had mud on it, it picked it up that it was dirty. If a sign is faded, I mean, it is just an awesome system. I will be as soon as I get up to speed on it. We just started the training. We are driving the town and collecting data. As soon as we get 100% up to speed, we're going to do a demo for you so you can see this. But it's going to produce our data more real time, where we can do it all the time, and be able to update roadway maintenance on a regular basis. Now we only do it 3 to 4 years because of the cost of having an engineer come in and do that study and evaluate all of our roadways. So I am super excited about that. And then the other piece that I'm super excited about, we are testing, myself and the DPW foreman, who's likely going to be our new DPW director when folks retire. We went up to North Shore, where they were doing hot in-place asphalt, the process, because I wanted to get sold on it. We met with one of the DOT folks, we watched the process, we looked at all of that. We're actually going to be testing that on Plymouth or School? Which one is 27?
School Street.
was gonna say.
School Street. So, this fall, they're coming, I think the end of this month, we're gonna test it on a section. The big advantage to that is it's about $5, no, it's about, all in, it's about $11 a square yard. That is a quarter of the cost to mill and overlay. And you get exact same product. I was incredibly impressed by that. It's an extensive process, but it's $5.76 a square yard to do the hot in place, and then you do a finish coat, which is just another $5. We'll be able to test it this fall, and if we can do that, then we can accelerate our roadway improvement program because we'll be able to do more roadways. Instead of paying $30, $40, or $50 a square yard, we'll be down at $11 or $12 a square yard. So that will be able to accelerate the improvement and get our roadways.
Can we get that at local plants?
What's that?
Can we get that at local plants?
It's not, it's what they do is, it's a huge infrastructure that they bring in and they go over the roadway and they actually heat the roadway incredibly hot. I mean, you get within 10 feet of this equipment and you'll burn yourself. Incredibly hot. They move the roadway around and then they relay it, roll it over, and then all you have to do is put a finish coat over the top, a thin. And yes, the finish coat will come from a local plant. We're using what's on our roadways now, just redoing it. So it's relatively new technology, but I was so impressed by this.
What did you hear about this? Was this the thing that I sent to you?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Way to the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, modernization,
So
that's part of the
story
2024
is- So the
values.
story is, you
Check
sent it
that
to
box.
me, you sent it to
Completed.
me, and I said to the DPW, what do you guys think about this? And they said, Bill, we want to do this. They wouldn't let us. So we went up, we looked at it, and we're going to do it. If
Nice.
it works, if our test works, we will be doing it on a lot of our roadways.
CDRD test.
And we
Know
actually,
it.
have, to get a slightly lower price, we actually partnered with the town of Halifax, I think it's Halifax, might be Hanson, where they schedule it at the same time and we bid it together, so that they can do and come in, because this equipment to move it around is incredibly costly, but if you can get people to share the experience with you, the mobilization costs go way down and you save some money. So,
So you could save even more money potentially
Yeah.
if you partner up with a
Yeah.
surrounding town. That's excellent.
Awesome.
more to come on that after we do the tests. We'll demo that, and we'll certainly have some video and some pictures of how that works.
Just real quick, because of the infrastructure forum that's coming up tomorrow and talking about some of the stuff associated with that. I did just remember one of the items on the goals and priorities that we updated the language of was there was an item under general infrastructure maintenance improvements about water quality, and it wasn't really communicating what we were talking about. It made it sound like we had bad water quality, which is not the case.
Actually, we have very good one.
We have very good, exactly. So it came off wrong, so we changed the wording of it and kind of updated that item to create water infrastructure capital improvement plan. So however it's worded, the fact that we have like a roadway capital improvement plan is excellent. We can present that to people as they ask a question. They can see the timeline, they can see the costs. Are we getting something like that
We
for
do
water
have a water
infrastructure?
capital improvement plan. It's a little bit old, and we're in the
Right.
process of updating it, but we do actually have one in place. And just on a quick water quality discussion, we use 100% groundwater wells for our deep groundwater wells for our water. Our water quality studies are incredible. Many of our neighbors and many of the big cities, including all your MWA communities, are using surface water from lakes and ponds that they have to treat. Not nearly as good a quality as what you get when you use a well.
I think the issues that people have when talking about this
The
issue is
brown
about the brown water,
Yeah.
the old pipes, et cetera. So I think that's really the big question.
That is our focus, is to get rid of that, make sure we get the new pipes in the ground or line the old pipes where we can, and make sure that the water is clean.
Did we get any feedback on the directional pumping that we did last year?
Yeah.
The flushing?
A lot of those folks that were here talking to you that evening are very, very happy. Not 100%. We're still working through some of that, but
Which
That
folks?
was
Which-
part of the issue.
yes,
The clients, the residents,
yes.
the
Yeah.
folks that were unhappy,
Yeah, we were-
they're happy, those ones at least?
Yeah, we were actually able to go and take a look at what was going on there. A couple of them were taps that were at the wrong section. A couple of them were just, the directional flow. If you got a dead-end street or a section that you doesn't flow through, it stagnates there and the water gets dirty, and then when you suck it out of there and push it back in, it turbulates and gets, some brown water. We're able to mitigate that incredibly with our directional flushing system. So much better. We'll get better as we go through our capital investments over the next 3 to 5 years.
And the guidance for folks who are experiencing brown water is contact the water department.
Yep, and
Let
we're
them know,
actually
have them investigate.
We're actually going to be rolling out a slightly new process where we do that online, where the emails will get sent. So it's good. Thank you. I have this big sheet here and didn't make that announcement. So the final thing I have is, what's it right there, is the Plain Street hearing for the 40B that was scheduled for Monday. It's 52 Plain Street public hearing, is going to be continued until October 28th at 7 p.m. They're going to do the continuance on Monday. No testimony will be taken on Monday, so if you're planning to come for the Plain Street 40B on Monday, don't. It's simply going to be continued. Plan on coming on October 28th at 7 p.m. And I'll announce that. I'll announce it on my weekly meetings, and we'll announce it here again. So,
Why is
What
that?
Applicant requested.
yeah.
The applicant,
Traffic study is like, the traffic study took longer. So to have a fruitful meeting, it has to go through peer review, and it's next week,
okay.
which extends our time to act. So it didn't hurt us at all.
Okay.
We
All
just
right.
don't want everybody getting in the car to come, and
Yeah, it's a waste of time for them, and so it's better for us to announce that.
As long as it doesn't hurt our time
Nope,
to act
not at all.
and
no, it does not.
respond.
Doesn't
Then we go on
hurt.
Facebook.
Yes, I put that out.
I think it already
right
is.
before the meeting
It is.
I
started.
saw it, yeah.
Yeah. Sue Globin's doing a great job, and she's getting the word out. She's changing the stuff. She's a new employee, the planning board assistant, and she's fantastic. But she's working really hard, and this is yet a curveball. And since we've seen River Marsh go through, it's a curveball, but if you can communicate it out there, so Bill did the courtesy of making it us.
It's on her. She did it, I just read it.
Thank you, Sabrina.
No worries.
Credit goes where credit should go. So,
Anything else?
I'm good, thank you.
Do we have any liaison updates? Do we have any old business? Do we have any new business? I do. Tell us about the fitness court out the back of the community center, please.
So we're gonna be having a grand opening coming up, so I don't want to spill the beans.
Okay.
So I do want to thank National Fitness Corporation and Blue Cross Blue Shield for helping us make that possible. There is some town funding, but the major part of that was from a grant that we had requested, and so it is an outdoor fitness court. It is behind the community center. There are fitness stages that you can do that. It's going to be outstanding. It just adds to what we're offering. If you walk this complex, if we had pictures of what was there before we did all of this work, and not just the fitness court, but our basketball courts and our tennis courts, and the new facility and all of the outdoor infrastructure surrounding that, and now the fitness court that is part of this, it's just outstanding.
Oh, it's awesome. So is it complete? Because I feel like around.
So it is, the court itself is complete, the landscaping around the court is not complete. The walkway that goes there will walk directly to that, handicap accessible. There'll be some plantings and some grass around it that just beautify it. So,
When should that be done?
within 2 weeks, but it's dependent upon landscapers, so.
Before any sort of grand opening?
The grand opening is,
25th?
I think it's in that range, yeah.
Like a Wednesday.
So, and we'll announce that as we get closer to that. Hopefully the landscaping's done. That was when all of the folks, the Blue Cross folks, all of the National Fitness folks were available, so we're looking at that right now. So,
What does the maintenance plan look like around that? What kind of costs can we expect maintaining
On
it?
the fitness court?
And what about keeping it clean after the winter? And
So cleaning it, you just wash it off.
we have people that are going to do that.
Yeah, there's very little cost associated with the equipment because of the nature of the equipment. If you look at it, you'll see why.
It's not stainless steel, it's regular, is it regular steel or stainless
I
steel?
think it's
There's a lot-
stainless.
Really?
Yeah, if you look at some, I'll double check that.
So you don't have to worry about it rusting?
Yeah, I think it's protected, you know, and the epoxy system that they put in place, yeah, just the whole thing and the pads and everything is incredible.
We don't cover it in some way during the winter in case
No,
it snows?
it's not scheduled to be covered. I'm gonna ask the National Fitness Corp what they think about covering some of the stuff, but there's a few of these, very few. We're, again, one of the leaders in Massachusetts. There's less than a handful of communities that have it, so.
Does it stay just wide open like that, or is there a fence that gets put around it
No,
or anything?
it's open.
What do we do about snow and ice removal?
So it's difficult to do snow and ice. If you've seen it, the nature of it, you just have to close it, generally speaking, in the winter months. Move people indoors. The walking track has 4 fitness apparatus in the corners of the track. We do have the fitness room there. And so if you're using it outdoors, but it is 3 out of 4 seasons, it should be really accessible.
Nothing else? Any community comment from the board? Do we have any, did you have something? No. Do we have any community comment from the public? All right. Upcoming issues, September 18th, we have a select board special meeting with Treasurer Kathleen McCarthy for a bond vote. And that is all I have. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.